Hey golfers, and welcome back to the Second Swing YouTube channel. Drew Mahowald here, Thomas Campbell there. We're back for another live today. I'm excited to have you join us, and we've got a few fun things planned today. I see the chat is already having a good time, so I did want to get into a couple of items here as people start to filter in a little bit more. For the viewers that are maybe in the Scottsdale area, I know we have a giveaway going on this week with the Waste Management Phoenix Open and our new store as well. So we have some free merch to give away at the Scottsdale North location. That's our, I guess, older of the two stores. So all you have to do to get that merch is go to the store and then share and like our Facebook page for the new store at Scottsdale South. The links for both of those locations are below in the description today. So that's some free some free merchandise for the Waste Management Phoenix Open for today. And then lastly, we do have kind of maybe a disappointing update for you, but in terms of our live broadcast for the future here for about the next couple of months, we will not be having a live on Thursdays through March, and that is because, well, the fitters here need this spot for fittings in the store. We just have too much demand right now, too many fittings being scheduled, and so for the next couple of months here, they're going to need this space at this time, so we cannot go live, unfortunately.
And I need to be added more to the fitting schedule.
Right,
so
exactly.
More and more people, a lot of our viewers have been coming in wanting a fitting with me, and I keep getting asked, hey, can you add more fitting hours? Well, end of the day, you know, business, you know, selling golf clubs and providing a great experience for our viewers and also our customers is the number one thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to fit more, but also I'm going to miss out on the YouTube live piece a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, obviously this is what we love to do. We love interacting with you guys, but we've got these fittings scheduled, and we can't be letting those people hang out to dry. So, but we've got some people again interacting with the chat here. One thing I know you wanted to touch on was last week's winner of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, Tom Hogan, who he's played a lot of golf in the Midwest here over in his life from Fargo, North Dakota, and he's also competed and won the Minnesota State Amateur.
Right. Yeah. So actually, I know Tom pretty well, going back few years now, but when I was an amateur golfer in college at the University of Minnesota, I played a lot of golf with him actually, and it was kind of fun to, you know, compete against him in certain things. I actually played with him in the final round of the Minnesota State Amateur when he won that year. I also lost to him that year in the Pine to Palm final as well. So it's been fun to see him progress and see how well his game's come along. Also gives me motivation as well to know that I've put a little more time and effort and figure out the mental game. You know, I could be right there with these guys too. So it's been fun to see Tom do well, Fargo's right on the border of Minnesota. And then Amy Anderson's another one from up in Fargo as well that's done really well on the LPGA Tour. So it's fun to see the Midwest golfers play well.
For sure, yeah, and I think we're seeing that. We had Kate Smith on last week as well, another player from Minnesota here who has turned professional, and if you haven't seen that live interview, you should check that out. We were live with her last Wednesday, and she discussed kind of her career, where she's at now, and having had a very successful amateur career. So I would suggest that one as well. So for today, again, this is unfortunately going to be one of our last lives for a while. We'll be back as soon as we can and have the space open. But today we wanted to go over a few fitting items, and we also kind of wanted to showcase the new Ping i525 irons as well. I know we've been very impressed with our initial testing. If you saw the swing report on those, I know especially the height and launch was a really big piece that we were impressed by. So we wanted to hit that, but we also wanted to hit the i59 and G425 to kind of really showcase the differences in those iron categories and those iron heads.
Right, yeah, I think this is important to note. I mean, biggest thing is loft and center of gravity with these irons. You know, Ping G425, it's got about 30 degrees of loft on it. The other end of the spectrum, you've got the i59, which has got 34. In the middle, now we have the i525. So player's distance, cavity back, and also game improvement. I think it'd be fun to play around with these irons today and just compare the differences with different swing speeds. A lot of our viewers want to see slower swing speeds to see how those clubs perform for them. So we'll play around with that today. I think it'll be fun test.
And then we do have a couple of other items we could show on the live today. So what we do have is we have a real throwback 3-wood here that this is a Hogan Apex. I don't know if we can get that, show that on the screen there. So this is, I don't actually know how old this is, but I know it's very old.
We always get some interesting trades in.
We do. Yeah. So one possibility that we have is to compare that to a modern 3-wood. We have a Sim 2 here. we could throw that on the live, and if you guys are interested in that, we could have Thomas hit the shots and see really how much golf technology has evolved over decades and decades. Hit a wood 3-wood versus a Sim 2. Or we could play around with the stealth driver, potentially discuss adjustable hosels, things like that, and see what golfers are interested in there, maybe the questions that they have regarding those. So we have some, we'll ask what you guys want moving forward. We do want to start, though, with this iron head discussion and maybe a test here to see, showcase those differences.
Right, and we're open here too. So if any of you guys have any questions or anything we want us to test today, we definitely can throw that in the mix, talk about different fitting suggestions, whether that's lie angle, whether that's loft adjustments. We can showcase that a little bit here on TrackMan today. So anything you guys want to see, we'll see if we can put it together.
We had a question right away. It was about swing weight with the i500 irons right here. Lefty SoCal golfer was asking the best way to reduce swing weight by 2 points on graphite shafted i500 irons, Thomas.
My first thought is adding weight to the grip.
Okay.
So anytime that you add, I believe it's like 4 grams of weight to the grip, the swing weight is going to go 1 point lower. The other extreme, obviously, is if you go the other way, you can decrease the swing weight. So increase some weight by changing the size of the grip, essentially.
Okay.
So that would be my first thought. There would be assessing what type of grip that golfer is using, and then whether they need to do, say, standard size or mid size, or
sure.
That would be the fastest way.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we'll take a couple more questions here from the chat, and then we'll kind of start maybe with our demonstration on the irons. I know Caleb already kind of getting us started here with some of the ping iron discussion. I-59 and T200, those are very different irons. The I-59 here, I can show it here on the screen. It's very compact size, right? I mean, that's a pretty thin sole there. So that's going to be a player's iron. Almost, it's kind of a tweener, honestly, between a player's cavity and a blade. There's kind of aspects of both there. For the better ball striker, for someone trying to work the ball, and also really soft feel. So whereas the T200, more explosive, more distance.
Won't spin as much.
Not nearly as much spin, right?
Yeah. I-59 for sure will definitely spin a lot more than T200.
Mm-hmm. A lot more comments coming in here. Let's see. I did a fitting, swung everything, came down to P770 and P790, both in C-taper light. This is from Eric. TrackMan numbers almost identical. What advice would you give to a customer to decide? So it looks like P770 and P790 are the kind of two club heads Eric is deciding between there.
Right. I would say maybe forgiveness and workability. P770 is 2.5 degrees weaker than P790. So it's going to go, the P790 is definitely going to go further.
Right.
So we're talking probably 7 or 8 yards, depending on how fast the person swings, obviously. But so depends on distance is important. Pay attention to your club speed. If you're not swinging fast enough, that P790 might come in a little bit lower than the P770. Loft is your friend a lot of the times to generate spin and give you a little bit better control and a little stopping power.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we certainly notice all the time in here. And then, see, here's one from Marcus. Question about swing weight. Again, what is a good swing weight for a driver? I bought a Cobra Speed Zone with Ventus Black Velocore, and it's D7. How should I reduce that? A bigger grip, maybe reduce head weight, etc. Yeah,
so I would, you could definitely play around with they actually have some weights in the heads too that you can modify there as well. So you can actually swing weight the head by putting different weights in the newer drivers as well. But D7 is pretty heavy. So I would play around with the length of the club. So length of the club, length of the golf shaft, size of the grip. And then you also can revert back to lead tape if you need to. I know it's maybe not going to be aesthetically pleasing seeing the lead tape on the club, or taking it off, but there's another way there too.
Okay, that's another good piece there as well. Let's see, here's Michael. Would it be a good idea to do an iron gapping session before or with a wedge fitting? Well, that's a convenient question because I know that's something that we focus on in fittings here all the time.
Yeah, so in wedge fittings, I always like to see the golfer bring in like 9-iron and pitching wedge. I kind of want to see what distance they're hitting those clubs. And then we can analyze, say it's a pitching wedge that has 47 degrees of loft on it, 47, 52, 56, 60. See how far, if the lofts are far enough apart. So I would assess at least those clubs. I don't think you need to do the iron gapping as such. Just kind of let loft do its job.
Right. Kind of, that's what we notice a lot in these. If we're a lot of the the new technology and things like that, but ultimately the biggest impact on distance, for example, in irons or even wedges, is just going to be the loft of the club. The stronger you make the loft, the further it's going to go. That's pretty much always the case, and there's a few exceptions we've noticed in some iron tests with, I think P790 is one that seems to go a little bit further than everything else in its category, despite not having the strongest loft. So there are some exceptions, but largely it's just the loft is going to be the biggest impact on gapping for your ball.
Right. Loft, end of the day, loft will do its job with regards to the gapping, the length of the golf club being every club essentially through your bag is half an inch longer or shorter. That'll also help with the gapping and the swing speed too.
Here's one from Rod. If I change out my 26 gram weight for a 17 gram weight on my G425 Max, will it lower or increase spin and loft? So with the G425 Max, you got that weight in the back that you can slightly move the center of gravity a little bit, but mostly it brings weight back, stabilizes the club. If you change that from 26 to 17, what would the impact be there?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking, what's that, 9 gram difference there? So just going off that formula there, if you add 4 grams of weight to a grip, that's going to be 1 point lower. So I'm going to guess 8 grams is probably about 2 points if you're going to flip-flop those two weights.
Okay, so that's one of the things, and probably just by the club head design as well, you're going to lose a little bit of MOI if you take some of that weight away from the back of the club. Probably not as forgiving. Probably would also decrease spin, right? You have a little bit higher loft, or a little bit higher launch, and spin with more weight in the back. And if you take some of that weight away, again, it would be probably a minor difference. Probably wouldn't notice it a ton with 9 grams, but you certainly would, I think, would see it, maybe if you really went to a deep dive and looked at the data. So
yeah, I mean, it would feel pretty light in your hands for sure. I mean, a driver head that is 9 grams lighter, within the tolerances, they're kind of usually all within about 5 grams of each other. So you might notice a difference in feel, player dependent, obviously, but that would be probably my biggest concern is how that club head would feel in that player's hand by taking 9 grams away.
Okay, well, we are getting some requests to start hitting some shots here. We hear you, Nick. We did just want to get to some questions from the viewers. So what we want to do is just compare basically a game improvement iron, G425, and then the new I525, the new player's distance model from Ping, and then I59, and really showcase the differences between those 3 types of iron heads, and maybe help some people decide between which one is right for their game. So, Thomas, if you're ready to start warming up, we can do that. And then you can tell me which iron you want to hit first.
Yeah, let's do that. To start off, let's do it where I swing at 80 miles an hour with my club speed with a 7 iron. So that way we can at least test all of them with the same club speed and see the differences.
Sure.
All right. That's while I'm warming up, let's go with I525.
Okay.
Since this is the new exciting one, we've already had people come in here as well to do fittings with it because they're pretty excited about it specifically. It's done pretty well so far.
Yeah, I know it's already gotten a lot of momentum on tour as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm looking down at the I525, it really kind of just looks like a slightly big brother of I210. But it's obviously got those Micromax grooves, so it's got 4 extra grooves on it. Yeah, it's sizable. It's forgiving. I thought it was interesting the other day. I was trying to find it because I knew the embargo date was Tuesday, and I was trying to find it on a board with all the club heads. It was sitting right next to G425. I was like, where's the I525?
Couldn't find it.
I couldn't find it because it looked kind of similar a little bit to the bottom looked kind of similar to G425 there too.
Yeah.
So there's definitely more mass down on the sole with this club than the I500 head.
Yeah.
It's quite significant, actually.
Yeah, I think they've made the top line thinner.
The top line thinner, but
thicker.
sole's thicker.
Yeah. All right, so we can clear you out on here.
Yeah, that last shot that you just had up there, that was me trying to hit
The wood 3-wood?
The wood 3-wood, as I was kind of warming up earlier. That'll be fun. I'm excited to hit that because there's definitely some differences in technology changes.
All right. Oh, you're just kind of getting warmed up here, aren't you?
Yep. You can just probably type in warm up or.
All right. we got Eric requesting a P790 versus I525 comparison. And I think one thing we'll do as soon as kind of the really busy season is done here and we have some more time with Thomas, he's not fitting as much, we'll try to do kind of one of our ultimate players distance iron comparisons, where we'll bring in basically all the latest players distance models from each of the manufacturers together into one test. We always like to do those. I know you guys love those ones, and so that'd certainly be a comparison within a comparison there. Just from my own, I guess, first impressions on the i525 and P790, I would expect P790 would be a little bit more powerful, a little more ball speed there, I think. But i525 might have a little bit more consistency, a bit higher launch and more height is my initial thought. But of course, we'll have to see with that test.
All right, I think I'm warmed up ready here. Let me do one swing, see if I can get close to 80 miles an hour.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of start.
So is about 80 miles an hour for you, is that what you kind of would say is maybe average for a player when you do a fitting?
Yeah, it kind of falls in between stiff and regular flex with regards to irons. Usually I always say like 70 to 80 is like regular, 80 to 90 is stiff. Now, there's always going to be differences based on someone's tempo, transition, feel, and everything like that. But that's usually a good ballpark starting point. So a lot of people, they kind of fit kind of right in between regular and stiff. Yeah. And 80 miles an hour with a 7-iron is going to be probably around about 93, 94 miles an hour with a driver, which we also know is about average for most golfers out there. Yeah. Yeah. That's what we would consider the average club speed.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to label this as the i525 at 80 miles an hour. And then hit some shots here. Roughly 80, of course.
All right. You want to change that? Did you change that tag over?
I did.
Perfect. You're ahead of me.
Here's a good discussion point here in this comment. Do we need a consistent swing and hit on the ball before we go in for a fitting? I'm still a new golfer, 15 plus handicap, so I don't know if I'm ready for a fitting. I know that's a very common question. We've had a few videos on our channel that address that exact question, but what's your kind of quick answer to that one?
I mean, my answer is it takes a lot to make a swing change. Mm-hmm. So even if you were going to spend 2 months kind of trying to groove the swing change, you're probably not going to notice too much of a difference. Yeah. So we can always revert if someone comes in for a fitting. Say they're topping the ball. Say they're skying the ball every single time. They're having a hard time connecting. It's February, haven't maybe touched their clubs in 4 or 5 months like you have in Minnesota. We don't have the chance to play all year round. Right. We can always revert back to that. You've got your wrist to full measurement. Mm-hmm. It's usually pretty accurate for lie angle. Yeah. We can see their club speed, so we already know kind of where we fit with regards to golf shaft, and then we already know if they're not consistently hitting it, they're probably going to need a little more game improvement on it.
Right. So and then the other thing too is if your swing does change and you're a newer golfer, but you're going to play a lot this year, and maybe there'll be some subtle changes in your swing. We can do the retrofit too, where you get your clubs, you play them for a couple months, or maybe a few months, whatever it is. You see the tendencies emerge. Maybe you realize I'm missing to the right a lot with my irons, or what have you. We can change the lie angle, we can change the loft, we can do those things afterwards for free if you get the fit here, and we can keep your game in tune with your clubs there. So
yeah, and we always have a 30-day play guarantee on our clubs too. Yep. So if it's not a good fit, you can take it outside. You're like, this is different to how I was hitting inside. Yeah. You can bring them back, and we can apply 100% of that towards something else. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so this is the i525. Talk about what you've hit a couple now. Look and feel of that. Talked about the look already, but how about the feel?
Yeah, I mean, it feels really, it feels solid. It's not like game improvement feel. It's also not like a Mizuno Forge feel either. It kind of falls right in the middle. Okay. But it definitely is a little bit softer than I'm used to feeling with for example, i500 was a little bit firmer. Mm-hmm. So it feels pretty good. Should be pretty close to, of course I didn't pick that one up, but I know that was pretty close to 80.
May have to remove that one from the data here.
That's funny.
Interesting how that happened.
Yeah.
We'll do this because that didn't give us all the information.
That was a little miss hit. Yep.
Okay. Interesting that the spin kind of dipped there a little bit, but
that was a better swing.
and we had here Brandon is asking a question about the spin being low. And we've talked about this on the video for the swing report. And with Thomas's swing, the way he goes at the ball, very shallow with his attack angle, you'll notice he's, the tour average is probably going to be -4 to -5. He's barely under, 0 sometimes. That one was -2.6 there. That by default generates very little spin.
Yep, exactly that. That, and then also dynamic loft as well. Compressible, pretty extreme actually. Or at impact, I'm kind of compressing the ball, not intentionally. It's just the way that I swing and really working on turning my hips through, and that's why that dynamic loft gets low. And the attack angle, we're about -2 right now when I'm hitting these, so it's less. Okay, that was a little miss-hit there too. Spin rate will probably drop on that one. Okay, so we got probably 6 or 7 shots there. I think it was just under 80 miles an hour on the club speed.
So one of the things that we can bring up, and we're having some questions in the chat about kind of the height, the landing angle, the spin. So what we can do, first I'll bring up the numbers there. We can show, so this is kind of your warm-up swings. And then here's I-525 at 80 miles an hour. Again, that's very little spin, right? Most golfers would have a swing with a steeper attack angle that will generate more spin. So that's not something we're super worried about. But I think the height piece, the landing angle piece is the most important here, right? That I think people are curious about. So what about, 78 feet in the air, 41 landing angle. What do you think about that?
Well, I think there's 2 up there that got a little heavy. You could probably take those outliers out. I think I got 6, 7 shots in there. So if you take a look at the ones that
Oh, sure.
a little bit lower, I think I said there was a couple that I missed at 69 and 71. So you can see how the ball speed dropped.
Oh yeah, this is
that one there.
This one you hit a little heavy, didn't you? Yeah, I can see that ball speed drop a
still
little bit.
39 degrees on the landing angle. And this one here was also 38.7 was the other one that we missed it. So, I mean, we're at about 80 feet in the air, landing angle of 42. Now, a lot of people, will talk about, say, 45 degrees for a landing angle as being that magic number. It's only that magic number if you're swinging fast enough.
Right.
If you don't swing fast enough, then your stopping power is never going to be as high anyway.
Your ideal stopping power changes based on how fast you're swinging. So, we've discussed that kind of that happy range, right, where you want to be. Is this landing angle kind of in that range there?
Well, let's bring up the optimizer. So let's bring up the TrackMan optimizer. I'm going to tell you based on a mid trajectory. If I'm seeing someone with a 42 landing angle, 80 feet in the air, it's going to be pretty good. It's still going to give you plenty of stopping power essentially.
Yeah. So here's the numbers on the optimizer. This is for a mid trajectory, right? We got that up in the corner here, mid trajectory.
Yep.
And we've noticed that your attack angle again is shallow compared to most.
Correct.
And you're actually hitting a higher ball speed than most with this club. That's something to note.
So they kind of cancel each other out a little bit.
So launch angle and height are in the optimal window still, though.
Yes. So I care more about the height. Now, everyone's going to swing really differently all the time. There's not going to be one perfect swing every single time. End of the day, I care about stopping power and height. And if someone's hitting at 80 feet in the air, swinging at 79 miles an hour with a 7-iron, that's good. That's good stopping power. Spin rate, yes. Spin rate's a little bit on the lower side. So that's because my attack angle, dynamic loft, is low. But
yeah. So like if if you were to play, for example, if you're maybe like one of the things for you potentially, depending on the height, maybe you are someone with low spin, but also you're not getting enough height. that's where the retro spec option from Ping would be great to get that spin up, to get that loft up and that height, and that way you could add that
exactly
stopping power that you need.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be retro spec loft. It could be whatever loft that we want to do. Maybe it's only a degree, maybe it's 2 degrees. But if you add a couple of degrees of loft, the spin's going to go up. You'll lose a little bit of ball speed, just naturally, because there's not as much loft on the club. It'll fly a touch higher. So, I mean, I understand the concern with a lot of golfers that like, well, these clubs are jacked. You're hitting them. When I swing at 90 miles an hour with my normal 7-iron, it's going 200 yards. And we don't need that. I agree. We don't need that. We don't need 4 or 5 wedges in the bag. But you got to keep in mind, stopping power is important. As long as that club's stopping, that is the most important thing.
Yep, exactly. That's the piece. With the irons, you want to be able to land on the green, keep it on the green. So, all right, G425 now.
Yeah, let's go G425. But yeah, so when I was hitting that 168 carrying on 181, is that my averages down the bottom?
Yeah, this is your averages now with I-525.
Yep.
Up here.
And I was at 79.4 on the
club speed. So close to 80.
Close to 80? Okay. So what I would anticipate here, knowing that loft's a little stronger with G425, is probably dynamic loft would drop a little bit. Spin will probably also drop a little bit.
So you're going to maintain the swing speed, right?
Yep, I'll maintain the swing speed.
We'll go to G425.
You also got to remember too, these clubs, these soles are large, or they've got the weight on the toe for certain reasons. They're trying to influence the center of gravity on clubs.
Oh yeah.
It's not so much that a club's bent from 34 to 28. It's purely, the center of gravity is also helping get that ball up in the air too.
Yeah.
Definitely looks a little larger from heel to toe.
Definitely a different sound too.
Yep. That was a little slow.
So Dave, we think I-525 is more of an I-500 replacement, both in that player's distance category. A lot of similarities, but it just seems like added, weight towards the bottom and the sole has kind of ramped up the launch a little bit with I-525 versus I-500.
All right, I got to pick up my speed a little bit. Those last two were a little slow. Should be closer. Yep.
All right, we got Ken asking a question here, Thomas, that we actually kind of went over already earlier a little bit. I'll get to that one after you hit this one here. So Ken saying, when changing grips, will a 1 or 2 gram difference with my current grips, or from my current grips, change the balance or swing weight in a significant way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Big difference, especially if you go from, say, a standard size to a jumbo size.
Right.
It's going to be a big difference. So make sure you pay attention to the weight of a grip. 4 grams is 1 swing point. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. And that's without even changing the length of the club or anything like that too. But
yeah.
So even if you put a couple extra wraps of tape under, it's going to influence it a little bit too.
Right. I know I've heard some stories about these tour pros and the tape they put under the grips. I think a couple years ago we went to we were in the Ping Tour van for a couple of videos, and when they were in for the 3M Open, when they were in the Twin Cities, and we were talking with one of the tech guys in the van. It said Bubba Watson puts 15 wraps of tape under his, I think it was right hand, and then 13 under his left hand, or vice versa, one of the two. But so they had, that's 13 to 15 wraps of tape under the grip of his club, which is just outrageous to think about.
Yeah, so I would be curious to know what the actual head weight of his irons are, because I'm sure they might have to do a little bit of counteracting there for having that much.
Yeah, I would imagine there's all kinds of different weighting and stuff going on, but So you're hitting G425. I'm noticing a louder sound. Do you notice a difference in feel compared to I-525?
Yeah, it's definitely more of that cast feel for sure.
Yeah.
It's more solid off the face. It's louder. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like a forged iron.
Right.
Yeah.
Owen here says, I'm a low dynamic loft player, so my game improvement irons are killing me right now. Can't stop the ball on the green at all. Nice that Ping offers retro lofts on a more forgiving set because my strike is inconsistent. So, and
you've definitely got to fit to the dynamic loft.
Right.
And I love having that up down the bottom there, so I can kind of at least see that.
And one thing too is just with the way these, the iron lofts are changing now. That option still needs to be there for players that do have a lot of speed. But you have a lot of speed, but still miss the center of the face. That's where those game improvement irons could also be useful. But you got to make sure they can, loft it as the appropriate amount of loft as well.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So you got to pay attention to how a person is delivering that golf club. I'd be curious to know what direction that he's hitting those shots, because if that face is more closed, the dynamic loft is going to be lower too.
Right. Which could be potentially a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe not being able to hold the green.
All right, I think you could probably take out the first two swings because those were a little slow.
Because, you were kind of trying to get a feel for the swing speed there a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see. So it would be these two.
Yep. The 78 and maybe the 75. So then we got 6 versus.
So that way you're at 79.3, and
what was
pretty
the
close.
other one at?
Yeah, I think it's the same or close. It's
79.4.
Yeah. So
okay.
We'll put this on the dispersion here. We'll show all. We'll see.
And get rid of the warm-up swings.
Get rid of the warm-up ones. How about that? So there's our dispersion. It's actually not that different, really.
Right.
And then Harry can bring up the numbers as well. Show those. What do you think? I mean, should we see a big difference here? We see a little bit more spin with G425.
No, because Ping do a good job with their game improvement G425. It's not completely loft jacked. So there's 30 degrees of loft on the G425s. There's 30 and a half on the I525s.
Yeah.
So really, the distance should be kind of non-existent there.
And we're seeing that, so that's good. That's one thing. Ping they haven't gone to the 27 degree game improvement 7-iron necessarily. Now I think
we can
do that.
We can
with
power
spec it,
yeah,
which
we can
is,
power spec.
if you do need something like that, let's say like is it the stealth irons maybe, or the Rogue ST Max, whatever they may have 28, 27 degrees in there. If you need something like that, Ping can do that for you. It's just that their standard is a little bit higher lofted than maybe some other manufacturers out there.
Right. I mean, you come in for a fitting with me, there's really no standard. I'm looking at the dynamic loft. I'm looking at your spin. I'm looking at your launch angle. I might order the clubs 2 degrees more loft, 2 degrees less loft, retro spec, power spec. End of the day, I'm looking at the way the person delivers the golf club. So, I know a lot of times we'll say, the 7-iron's got a 7 written on it. I agree. I kind of wish it had loft written on the club, so you kind of could know that, hey, this is
that's
a
something
26 degree club.
I point that out all the time. When I'm playing with my friends, they it's that same question everybody deals on a par 3. Oh, what club are you hitting on this hole? What iron are you hitting? I'm hitting my 6-iron. Well, that's probably not the same as your 6-iron. It's very different. So,
but it's getting that person into 6-iron delivery numbers is what we're trying to do.
So I did want to just bring up the optimizer for these shots quickly, so you can kind of see where G425 was in, and it's pretty similar to I525, right? Just a little bit more height and launch, kind of a little bit more in the center of those windows for a mid trajectory, but still plenty of ball speed, right?
Right.
Again, with your swing, not a lot of spin. That's the way you deliver that club, very shallow. But despite that, right? Because we've talked about this. Generally, when you have lower spin like that, that should mean the ball flight's lower most of the time. But the Ping irons, both I525 and G425, still give you plenty of height and plenty of launch that you can keep the ball on the green.
Right. Height, landing angle, and difference between your carry distance and total distance is what I'm looking at in a lot of fittings.
So now we can maybe move to the I-59 here. and that's going to be the toughest one to hit. And so now here's a question for you, since we kind of did those first two with 80 miles an hour. How often do you fit a player with a swing speed like that, low 80s maybe, to a player's iron like this?
So this is where you're probably going to see a little difference in ball speed. We're probably going to lose that ball speed. So you can see on the optimizer, the ball speed was above the blue area. This is where I'm going to probably see it maybe fall in the middle or even kind of a little bit lower, because the loft is weaker. We're talking 4-degree difference. So it depends on if the player wants to play those, we'll do it. But I would probably be trying to get them into a little bit more optimal numbers. Now, once again, if they're really, really fighting spin, we can definitely go with more loft on the club. If they're a good player, they just don't swing as fast. That's where we could probably look at that as an option. But it's more designed for probably a player that swings a little bit faster.
Okay, well, let's get set up here with the I-59.
And these are all black dot here too. So these are all standard lie.
Okay.
Standard
and we also
loft.
have had a couple questions about the shaft that you are hitting with right now.
So this is actually the LZ 6.0. I normally play the 6.5 because I knew I was going to be swinging a little bit slower. I went with a little bit lighter, a little bit less flex shaft there too. But swinging at 80 miles an hour, this golf shaft still would probably be pushing it. Unless the player really likes the feel of a heavier golf shaft. 80 miles an hour, we're probably leaning towards probably more around the 90 to 110 gram category is probably what I would normally see.
Okay.
Once again, player dependent though. So I'm not going to say that everyone's going to be the same.
It's funny because we get a lot of questions specifically, while you do especially, where it's here's a fitting question or something about their particular game, and a lot of times we have to kind of give that answer because we don't want to give a blanket, like a generalized answer to somebody if that doesn't apply to them, right?
Right.
So, we do need to give a full, complete, 100% confident answer. We need to know about the swing a little bit instead of, is the G425 going to be better for me than, the T200? Maybe. It depends on the way you swing.
Right. So I'm going to be looking at ball speed. I'm going to be looking at spin. Carry will probably go down a little bit, and also dynamic loft. And then also the height and that landing angle will be interesting to see what changes. Now we've got more loft on a golf club.
Here's a question coming in from, looks like C Lawyer or Cloyer, 27. My swing is dialed in, but I can still hit it off the heel or toe. I haven't broken 80. My question is, do you still push a game improvement iron at that point, or should I look into player resistance categories? So that's kind of what we're testing a little bit today. It's, again, this kind of comes back to that player dependency thing, but because I know you hate putting a handicap on the categories of irons because you might have a really skilled iron player, maybe someone that hits the ball really consistently, but their short game stinks, and that's why they're a 15 or 20 handicap.
Yeah, I mean, if they're hitting it heel toe all the time, like heel toe, not in the middle, probably a little bit more game improvement iron.
Yeah.
However, my concern would be, say he swings, I don't know, my speed, for example. Say you're swinging 90, 95 miles an hour with a 7-iron, so really, really fast.
Yeah.
You get that game improvement iron that's got not much loft on it, and then, you match up one time, but the other time you're not matching up. There could be a very wide range in the distance that you're hitting that club.
Yeah, especially if you go into the player's distance
player's
category.
distance, even game improvement. Maybe my concern is that they can be hot.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you hit a pull, you'll be 30 yards over the green to the left. We don't want that. So you got to take consideration how fast their swing speed is too.
Yeah, that, and then that might be, if you are a faster swing speed player, and have that scenario where you haven't broken 80, but you're trying to hit off the heel or toe, might be hot, that retrospect we talked about with ping, or maybe improving the loft, or increasing the loft, on the irons to reduce that chance of a flyer.
Right. Yeah, there's more of a chance of a flyer when you have less loft on a golf club. So that was a little higher there. That landing angle was 46.
Oh yeah. So we're seeing that go up here with more loft.
Yep, and that spin was higher too. That was 5,300.
Yep. I mean, we're climbing into the 5,000 range for spin, which we hadn't done with the previous 2 irons.
Right. Slow it down just a little bit here.
So now I'm noticing a big difference in feel, right? So generally, player's iron, I-59, soft feel, imagine.
Right. There's a
compared
huge
to-
difference in the sound.
Yeah, the sound is
Yeah.
major difference, yeah.
Yeah. This is more muted.
Yeah, you're hovering right around 5,000 on average for spin, which has to be about 600 RPM higher than the others.
Right.
That's we just got a really good question from Dave related to that player, breaking 80. If you consistently broke 80 with game improvement irons, but then switched to player's iron, and then suddenly you couldn't break 80, do you still go back to game improvement irons? It's a fair question.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's probably something that's when you make that transition to a smaller club head, you risk, not having the forgiveness that you need on those iron shots. So
Yeah. I would have the conversation with them too, and how much work they're trying to put into the game too.
yeah,
So that's another piece is you got to ask them, are they working with a PGA instructor or an instructor, or are they just a weekend warrior and just go play
Yeah.
golf once or twice a week, or not even that much. That's when I would add in maybe a little more game improvement iron. But if you're working on a game and you're really working on trying to get better, you're seeing that progress get better and better.
Right.
That's when you probably say, yeah, you're working on a game, we're seeing progress, it's getting better. You probably sneak towards an upgrade into a more player's iron. But if you're not working on your game, you don't really care about practicing, you're just showing up and playing,
Yeah.
that's when game improvement is going to gravitate toward
yeah,
that.
that's probably a good piece of advice there. If you're not playing, if you're playing twice a month or whatever, especially Minnesota when you can't play in the winters, and you're just playing that twice a month, you're not going to make those significant improvements in your game, and maybe want to hold off a little bit more to make that switch. Just something to think. That's a good question though, because I imagine that's a scenario that's happened before. I bet where someone has made that switch and suddenly they've realized they maybe don't have the game for a player's iron and they need to go back.
Right. Yeah. End of the day, your dispersion is going to win, especially if you're irons. Yeah. I don't know how many shots I hit there. It's probably close to about 5 or 6.
You can take
I
a
think
look
my
at those
average
here.
club speed was pretty close there on those, just hovering under 80.
So yep, right there. You could probably we'll just keep all those.
That was 6. Didn't have to take any missets out or anything with that one.
And no weird club head speeds on that one. We'll keep those. So we'll go like this, and we'll bring up dispersion. We can kind of see right there. There's a big difference there. So it's a lot shorter.
Yep.
You're probably talking. We can look at the numbers. It's about 10-yard difference in carry, and about 11-yard difference in carry, and about 13-ish in total. So player's iron going to be a shorter. A lot of that's weighted to loft. And then we also notice the launch angle go up and the spin go up because, again, that's a lot of that is loft related. Now, one thing, too, I think people are going to notice is that dispersion circle is pretty small there.
Right.
So, and that's part of that is you hit the ball shorter, it's easier to be accurate.
It's going to be straighter. If you
shorter.
hit 5 shots with a wedge and you get 5 shots with a 7 iron, I can guarantee that wedge is going to be closer together. Yeah, it's just the distance. When the ball starts going further, it's more of a chance to go further offline.
Right.
And spin, this is another conversation there too, is one of the things that I fight a little bit as a low spinner is control. I've got to make sure that I'm on point.
Yeah.
If you don't spin the ball enough, it is hard to hit the ball straight.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, especially with the iron. That's where, I think when it comes to drivers, people are so afraid of having spin on the ball because that loses distance, right?
Yep.
But with an iron, you kind of want that spin to give the ball enough lift, be able to control it a little bit, and that's where you can lose some of that if you're a low spinner like yourself.
Yeah.
They want to bring up the optimizer for the I-59 test here. I know someone asked about your stock club speed it's going to be right around 80,
I'm right around
88
90.
to 90.
Yeah.
So you're taking a little bit off here, but kind of trying to show, the average
Yeah.
type of speed that you maybe fit players into. You're seeing, you called it, the ball speed dipped a little bit here. It was the lowest ball speed by a good margin, but you had the highest club speed. So something about the Loft and how the I-59 or the player's iron is not built for distance. It's not going to give you distance that you're looking for.
Yep.
You're going to be getting a little bit higher launch, higher height, and also the ability to work the ball too, which we didn't really showcase here. But if you're trying to hit that fade or hit that draw into a pin, you'll be able to do that a lot better with a player's iron.
Right, and then just kind of reverting back to that attack angle I think it was negative 2.2 on pretty much all three of them.
Right.
So it's it's above what would be considered ideal. So I know that I'm working on that. I'm trying to. Used to be right around about 0, so I'm trying to get in a better spot there. But that's why that spin loft is below, because the attack angle is very, very shallow. And that's also kind of why we see that spin rate a little bit lower.
Yeah, I mean, you see the spin, though. It's not on the bottom of the thing anymore.
Right.
It's up there close to the range, so
it's closer to the range.
It's better, and you can see that, if you're a player that you hit the ball pretty consistently and you just need a little bit more height, a little bit more launch, and a little bit more spin maybe, I-59 seems to be a winner in that department.
Right.
And I think in fittings especially, that's been the case.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the landing angle, I think, is, we start seeing that going up a little bit here, too, as we compare more loft on a golf club. Yes, the landing angle is going to go up. We're trying to find what is optimal for each golfer.
Right.
So we're trying to weigh what their goals are. Is it distance? Is it accuracy? I mean, most people, want to pick up a little bit of distance if they can, but I don't want to sacrifice that. I don't want that to be just total distance. I want to give them landing angle and stopping power.
Sure.
And that's where, once I see all of a sudden 15 yards of difference between your carry distance and total distance, that starts to worry me with a little bit of a 7-iron.
Right.
You start thinking about what that's going to be like with a 5-iron or a 4-iron now. Then it's going to get harder. That distance is going to get further apart. The ball's going to come into the green shallower. So that's always important to assess, essentially.
Yeah. 100%. If we can take a couple of questions here in the chat as we maybe kind of wrap up the iron category comparison here. I know we had a few come in here over the last couple of minutes. One we've talked about already a little bit. I'll kind of go over it again. Someone asking about P790 versus I525. We will compare those in a future player's distance iron comparison test. My initial thought is P790 is going to be a little bit hotter, a little bit more speed, probably a little bit lower launch. I525, a little bit more height, easier to get off the ground. Maybe a little bit more consistency there too in terms of distance, right? I know in testing was very consistent for you.
I think the distance will be about the same, but it's going to get there just a little bit different way.
Yeah. I think that's true because, well, especially if you're after carry distance, you might get I525 a little bit more because that thing was flying easily through the air.
Yep.
The P790 is going to be lower launch but roll out a little bit more, I think.
Yeah. So if you're a high spin golfer, P790 is good because it's going to knock that spin rate down. It's going to knock the height. If you're hitting it too high.
Yeah.
If you need a little extra height, I525 might give you just a little bit extra height. Yeah.
Let's see here. Adam asking, I used a simulator for the first time. Driver spin rate, it was 5,000. Would a low spin shaft be a quick fix, or would I need a new club head as well? That is a lot of spin.
Yeah. So 5,000 is very high for, you said driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very high. I don't think it's going to be the golf shaft. I think it's going to help. It's going to be, it definitely helps to deliver the club nicely.
Yeah.
But I think it's more the loft that golfer's using. So I would say he's got too much loft, but I would also pay attention to club path. Club path is probably going a little left.
Yeah.
Face angle is probably a little open and probably catching it on the heel of the club.
And I would imagine also struggles with that right miss, it seems like. So.
And angle of attack probably as well.
It's probably pretty steep.
Probably a little
so
down.
There's a lot of those things working together. So it would be a combination. I mean, there's ways to mitigate that with club fitting. There's maybe a draw bias head to close the face a little bit.
Yep.
And there's different things you can do with the shaft. You mentioned maybe adjustable weights or adjustable hosel.
Yep.
But ultimately, I do think a lot of that would be related to club path and the swing profile that the player has too.
Yeah, I think. And once again, I'm going to say this is player dependent. It's not the same for everyone. But golf shafts, I don't think the golf shaft. I know the golf shaft doesn't make as big a difference as the club head does. Loft will make the biggest difference. The head design will make the biggest difference. From there, the shafts are player dependent. Just because a golf shaft is a high spin golf shaft or a low spin golf shaft, it's going to influence how that person delivers the club at impact, but it's not going to influence. There's no difference in loft on the shaft, right?
Right.
It's just all that is helping deliver that club. So that's why, generally speaking, a higher spinning golf shaft is going to be for a golfer that needs a little more speed in their swing. A lower spinning golf shaft is for a golfer that swings very, very fast.
Jack asking, sorry if I missed this, what is the ideal landing angle for a 7-iron? Another one of those player-dependent answers. I know a higher speed player can find that in the 45-degree range probably. But if you have a little bit lower speed, your ideal landing angle is going to be a little bit lower than that.
Exactly, and the Ping has a great chart. I think you can find it on their Proving Grounds. They have like a little blog. I think you can actually just Google Ping optimal landing angle chart. And that will give you an ideal landing angle based on what your based on what your club speed is. I think it's like 70 to 80 miles an hour, or 80 to 90, or
they have the ranges
70.
there.
They got a
I know
range.
you guys use that in fittings too.
And then they got it based on a high trajectory, a low, or a mid trajectory.
Yeah.
And we use it a lot. I mean, it's just a great way to educate people that there's some people that, say if someone comes in and swings 70 miles an hour, there's no way I can simply get someone to get a 45-degree landing angle with their 7-iron. They would hit it nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, they'd hit their pitching wedge 90 yards, or I mean, less than that maybe.
Yeah, and we're seeing the numbers exactly right here. I mean, I barely got to 45. I got to 45 with I-59 swinging at 80. Now, if I swing at 90, that's going to go up to 50 plus. But yeah, that's a great chart to use. If you can find that chart online, Ping landing angle, and it'll also tell the spin rate, ideal spin as well. But once again, so we're seeing here, spin is influenced by angle of attack as well, in dynamic loft. So
we'll take one more here before we maybe move on to our next kind of piece or segment of the live here. Craig asking, is the G425 LST as good as the new drivers that came out this year? Any reason to upgrade?
Yeah, there's good. I think the G425 LST is still a very, very stable driver.
Yeah, for being a low spin head, I think so. I think that one and like the Max LS, the Rogue ST Max LS are going to be really good for MOI, but still maintaining low spin. Yeah, the G425, and this is just in general, is a little heavier head than the newer models. And stability. They're going to definitely focusing on stability and forgiveness and MOI. Once again, player dependent. You're going to see some golfers in a fitting who will hit one club better than others. And that is, and I think too, there's a huge mental aspect of the fittings that I think is tough to quantify, and that is how much a player likes a club head, or maybe they look down at a Callaway driver or a Ping driver or whatever it is, and they just are drawn to it. And then I don't think I believe, and I don't know if there's anything proven out there on this, I believe there's some subconscious in your mind as well that makes, for me, for long, I mean, it's just a matte driver head. Like, I've realized a matte driver head, I like that, and I swing more confidently with one of those compared to a glossy one. Like, I think there's that out there that a lot of people should consider too, because you might come in here and I might hit, I guess for me it'd be a Titleist driver, really well, but I might not quite like the look of it, and I might err to the side of, a matte driver head just because I don't like it as much on the glossy side. So, end of the day, the loft on the golf club, is going to do the biggest influence on distance. I'm gonna say it now. I'm gonna, newer technology when it comes to drivers. For example, stealth versus, we've seen a lot of comments on our stealth versus sim 2 driver test. It's probably not going to increase ball speed dramatically. There's limitations on drivers these days. Right. But what you'll notice out of newer technology is the consistency on the off-center hits. Yeah, and that's what Dave's talking about here. He says, all I hear about is G425 is stable. Does that mean it twists less at impact, or what exactly are you talking about? So, I know one of the terms that Larry Bobka likes to use is resistance to twist. That's the way he describes MOI. He's big into putters when it comes to that, but also it plays with drivers. And just the higher the MOI, the less twisting there will be when you don't hit the center of the club face. And that's where we've seen G425 drivers, all of them, have been really good in that department. It's just staying square. If you hit the toe, it's not twisting, or if you hit the heel, it's not twisting as much. Yeah, it's just
Ping in a nutshell.
Right.
I always think of Ping as a little more forgiving, high MOI than some other manufacturers. Yep.
So now we're kind of in this. So this is the fun part. So we have 2 different possibilities we can go with the rest of this stream. One of them being we have this wood 3-wood here.
And I want to hit that, so at least I want to start hitting with that there too. But I know we've got.
We can just do that.
Yeah, we'll do that. We could probably play around with hosel a little bit there with Stell. How are we doing for time?
We got about 11 o'clock here.
Okay.
So we've got this 3-wood. Thomas was going to test this against a Sim 2.
Yeah, I just grabbed a 3-wood off the shelf that was right behind us there just to compare. So old, really old versus
we've had some
new
old versus new type stuff on the channel, maybe from the last couple of decades, maybe. But this would be potentially the oldest club that's ever been tested on the channel.
Right.
Be close.
Yeah. It's a wooden wood. It's got screws on the face.
And on the, I mean, there's screws everywhere.
Yeah. It feels heavier. It's a steel golf shaft.
It is crazy.
But it's in very clean shape. So that's why I wanted to gravitate towards it.
So
I'm like, this is pretty cool.
Hogan Apex 3-wood. It's an old club, yeah. So why don't we'll hit some shots here, and then we'll see. I would like to just get your feedback on the feel and sound and how stable it is as well.
Right.
Because I imagine if you mishit this thing a little bit, I mean, there's that club face. You can kind of see like that's going to be a problem. So.
Well, let's hope I don't hit that one better because I don't know if I can put it in the bag.
I don't know. Yeah, that would be fun though. If you just all of a sudden smoking this Apex and then you throw it in the bag for the Club Pro Championship, that would be great. Actually, now the thoughts in my mind of Thomas putting that in the bag for the PGA Championship this year.
Yeah.
Goes up there on the first tee, pulls out the Apex 1970s 3-wood.
Yeah. So I'm going to anticipate. I don't even know. Lower spin probably with the 3-wood. Probably a lower ball.
Maybe
flight.
I don't know.
Probably lower spin, lower ball flight versus, and this is a lower spinning head. This is the Sim 2 titanium at 15 degrees. Mm-hmm. But this, looking down at it, it's not as large, so it's a smaller head. I don't know. I mean, it's a wooden head, so we'll see how it comes off the face. But yeah, probably just a lower ball flight in general. I know the golfers that when they used to play these guys were skilled players.
Right.
Like,
it does give you another level of respect.
Think about how good the golfers were in the past.
It gives you another level of respect for how well they hit the ball back then.
Trying to hit this off the ground and off the sand, off like a link style kind of a sandy turf.
All right, so you're gonna start with that one?
I'll start with this one, yeah.
All right, so we'll go 3-wood, and then we'll enter the tag here.
Feels like a brick.
A brick. Was this Hogan Apex?
Hogan Apex, yep.
Am I not typing? I'm not typing. Oh, I was typing. It's just being a little slow. All right.
Yeah, I can't believe how good the shape this thing is in.
All right, the Hogan Apex.
We'll see how good my ball striking really is. There we go.
Oh, look at that shot trail.
Worst shot
it's a beautiful
on
shot
YouTube
trail. A humbling experience for Thomas Campbell. That's great.
All right, I got to do better than that. It's so interesting just how much heavier this felt. I feel like I couldn't deliver.
Well, it's a steel shaft, and it's an old steel shaft.
Yeah.
So
can't edit that out. This is on YouTube forever now. I mean, I hit that better.
That sounded solid, I think. I don't really know what a solid sound is for a wood club, but.
Oh my God.
Did you feel like you sliced that like that?
I feel like I pushed it a little bit.
I mean, the face was open.
Well, yeah.
But it's like, I mean, I hit shots all the time with a 2.1 face to path, and there's not 120 feet of curve on it.
Look at that spin. Look at that height. 53 feet in the air going to the right.
That's wow. Because that's still a 147 smash is good.
Yeah. Hit it pretty close to the middle.
Oh, that was smoked. Just so low, though. Look
Oh
at
my
that.
God.
I'm going to laugh at this dispersion.
I have utmost respect for the guys that used to play these clubs.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this was state-of-the-art technology back in the day.
I gotta hit one straight. This is embarrassing.
But it really isn't. I mean,
Kind of is.
I mean, it sounds good. It sounds like a good thud, you know, like,
It
again,
doesn't feel good.
it doesn't feel good. Well, I think we can safely say this is not going in the bag.
Yeah. I'm surprised how low the spin and height is. It's crazy. Just can't hit it. I hit that better.
So, like, how did players? I mean, was this the ball flight back then? Like when they
Look
hit
at that
three woods?
thing.
Was it just this was it?
I mean, so the golf ball was also different too.
Yeah, that's true.
So a little difference in golf ball design. So maybe a better test. No, I don't even know if TrackMan would pick that up, but would be the golf ball you would use with this.
Yeah, one of those
back in the day.
older like square dimple ones from way back in the day.
Right.
I might have my timeline off on when golf ball technology evolved, but yeah, you're hitting it well though. I mean, you're hitting like your smash factor is really high. It's just there you go. That's pretty straight. 280.
There you go. Hit it
280. There's just no spin.
Yeah, 2100 spin. 28-degree landing angle. Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
one more.
One more.
Oh my God.
Hey, that's some more spin on that one.
That's because I didn't hit that in the middle of the face. Actually, bring out the hit location. That'd be kind of fun to see kind of where
yeah.
that was.
Yeah, that would be. Okay, so we got our numbers there. Let's do this.
Oh, just ruined my dispersion pattern.
Well, all right.
There we go.
I mean, so you're hitting basically the center of the club. This is Thomas's hit location on average with the wood 3-wood, right?
Good training club, I guess.
So that's fascinating to me now because that is what, I mean, how did players keep the ball on the planet back then when they were hitting 3-woods like this and they were hitting it in the center of the face and it would still go that far offline?
I'm just glad that I didn't have to experience that because I would need a different career.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know if I know you very well and I don't know if you would have the patience for that.
Right.
Let's see, should we do this? Look at oh my, yeah, that's fun. Look at the dispersion. I kept this one in here for fun, the one that you first hit. I mean, even still though, if you were to take, here, I'll be nice.
Thank you.
I'll be nice and take that one out.
So viewers, we have a delete button in fittings. So if you hit a shot kind of like that, I can definitely get rid of it.
But here's the dispersion with the Hogan Apex. All right, so we got that. There's our visual. I can actually, for the sake of this now, I'll take these out too. Oh, click. There we go. Oh. So there we go. There's our dispersion. Now we're hitting the Sim 2.
Which right now I can't even feel in my hands.
Yeah, it
because
probably feels a little
like
different.
A feather.
All right, I'll change this tag quick. Oh, that's a good idea, Dave. Dave said bring up the optimizer. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that after Sim 2 here. We'll see how Sim 2 fits in there. And so this is the titanium, correct?
Yeah, this is the titanium. 15 degrees.
That's funny. The optimizer is going to be hilarious with that club.
I think we need more loft or height or something.
I love that you're going to be looking at that when you hit here.
Couldn't be further far offline. Okay, so I need to regroup here because this literally doesn't. It's hard to feel this in my hands right now.
Yeah. So that's Just a kind of a standard, the stock stiff shaft you found off the rack there.
This is the Tensai 65S.
Well, it's already comfortably the highest ball speed.
Yeah, I mean, I left the face open on that.
Oh.
1-5 smash.
Yep.
Look at that height difference there. I left the face angle, 3 degrees open?
Yeah.
You see that thing was, 117 feet in the air. I don't think I got anything like over 60 or 70
I don't think you did either.
In the other.
You were at about 50 every time.
Yeah. This shaft feels so light in my hands.
Raymond pointed out here too in the chat, like I don't think guys back then hit 3-woods off the turf very much. That's probably true. But if they did, I can't imagine they hit it very high. There's no way.
Right. Yeah, I think that shot was just getting used to the feel of this club again.
Oh, that one was good. That one was good. Yep. 290. Yep.
100 feet in the air. 107.
That's another good point from Dave here too. He says, out of curiosity, what were the ball speeds like from guys in that era? Because, very few of them, I'm sure, were swinging fast enough to get to 150, 60 miles an hour ball speed. But
and they were playing a very heavy golf shaft too.
Right. So, I'm sure the clubs were not built for someone to swing this fast, but.
Yeah. All right, we get the point.
We get the point. But by the way, that one went 298.
Really?
It did. So let's do this.
So the first shot clearly was just a reaction to this lighter golf shaft.
All right,
after
optimizer
swinging
time.
The Hogan steel shaft.
Optimizer time. Look at this. With the Sim 2. This is your averages.
That stupid attack angle.
The attack angle is 2 up with the 3-wood. And low spin, plenty of height. Now, for the fun part.
Mm-hmm. Ball speed was pretty good. Ball speed was great.
Mm-hmm.
Your mic is out. I'll talk over here.
So that's plenty of ball speed. Low spin. We knew the low spin was a thing. Low launch angle. And the height was low as well. Looks like we're switching out Thomas's microphone battery died quick, so we're waiting for him to get those replaced. But that was Thomas. You actually did pretty well, all things considered, there with the Apex. You got plenty of ball speed on it. Your tack angle is still up 2 degrees with the Apex there, but there's a reason that these clubs are no longer in play, and I think it's because of what we just saw. Oh, see, now we have a comment in there. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville says, yes, we hit the fairways with from the fairways with persimmons. So, how did you do that? It would be a question that I have, because I don't know of many people that could hit the ball better than Thomas, and he didn't. Again, he hit it well, but just didn't get nearly the height on it that he could. So, but yeah, there's our little mini test there. We did a 3-wood, an old 3-wood versus a Sim 2. And now that's in a very extreme case of old versus new technology, but that was still fun to see.
Yeah, I don't want to try and hit that again.
Yeah.
That was I mean, I can't believe just how low the spin and the height was with that club. Like I said, I don't know how people could do it and pass. Got to work on the game a
That's
little.
the thing. Well, and the nice thing is we don't have to worry about that because this is
Right.
2022 and nobody plays wood clubs anymore. And if you are, you probably could use an upgrade on your equipment. So, all right, here's what we can do here. We have stealth heads with an adjustable hosel. We don't have a ton of time. So, otherwise, if you do have some questions, send those in now. Fitting related, new equipment related, anything related to golf. And we have Thomas here to answer some questions for probably 15 more minutes or so. Anything that you have, you can fire away. I know that it's getting to that point now, at least around here, where fittings are really picking up. Our tour van bays are completely full, and that's part of the reason that we are moving and not doing the lives anymore here, is because our tour van bays are all full, and this tour van bay is also going to be used as well. And then, the demo bays that are behind us will eventually have to be used as well for fittings, even though those are generally slated for demo hitting. We typically this time of year we always have to go to those bays for fittings as well, just because how in high demand these fittings are.
I did notice a comment earlier. Someone suggested, what about a live fitting? Absolutely. If someone's interested in doing a live fitting, would love to do that. So if anyone lives in the Twin Cities or area wants to come in for a live fitting, we would do that. It would be fun to have someone on, fit them kind of how we would in our tour van fitting, but do it live. Just kind of be prepared know that you'll be kind of on camera and
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's one of the things that we can do is we can do a live fitting for you. If you come schedule a fitting for it with us in Minnetonka, we can definitely do that as well. So, it looks like my audio's out now.
You're good.
all right.
Am I good?
Just riding Thomas's mic.
Oh, I can talk to Thomas's mic.
Okay.
All right, so
Yep.
so submit your questions, anything that you have here for Thomas. We had a few minutes yet that we can use to answer those. Once again, like Thomas said, we can do a live fitting if you're in the Minnetonka area. If you schedule a fitting, reach out to the fitter, reach out to Thomas, and maybe we can get that scheduled and we can do a live for your fitting. It doesn't necessarily have to be on a Thursday either, but we can try to make that work.
Right. So what I wanted to do here to finish up is I wanted to talk about tips. So tip adjustments, essentially you're talking about the hosels with, TaylorMade, you got Callaway, you got Titleist, you got Cobra, you got Mizuno. They all do little things a little bit differently. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, why you would adjust the hosel settings on a driver. End of the day, when I'm fitting, I want to fit to the right club head loft first. So if you fit into a 9-degree driver, I don't want to give you a 10.5 and loft that thing down 1.5 degrees. I want to get the right loft, stated loft on the driver first. From there, we're doing tweaks. So even though it says +2, -2 in loft, or you can go up 3/4 degree or go down 1.5 degrees, doesn't matter what manufacturer you're using, I prefer to fit to the loft on the driver because we know you're influencing the face angle, the lie angle when you're changing this around. You're going to make some modifications. So just talking about what changes with regards to loft. So TaylorMade tip. What you can do is you can go ±2 degrees. However, just keep in mind when you do go to the -2 loft, what you're doing is you're opening that face angle 4 degrees.
Yeah.
Other end of the spectrum, you flip it 180 degrees, you go +2. You are then essentially you're closing that face 4 degrees. So, and everything else kind of in between, the loft, the lie changes depending on the setting that you've got there too. Callaway, you can go up 2 or up 1 or -1 or put it in the neutral or drawer setting. There also are cogs that you can get. They have a red dash cog and a green dot cog that are a little bit differently, flat settings, and also the green dot cog essentially flips, so you can go -2 and +1. So there's adjustability difference there with those two manufacturers. Titleist, you've got there, you got 16 different settings.
Sure fit.
Sure fit. You got A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you can go as high as 1.5 degrees or as low as 3/4 degree. So you're making some modifications there, and also you're affecting the lie angle a little bit there too with that. But ping you can go plus 1, plus 1.5, minus 1, minus half. You also have the 3 flat settings as well on the back that you can make the club a little bit flatter. So if I've forgotten any other manufacturer, you got Mizuno, you got Torres, they all Cobra, they all kind of work the same way.
Yeah.
Cobra you can go same kind of as ping, minus 1.5 or plus 1.5.
Yeah.
But end of the day, what you're doing is you're influencing lie angle.
Yeah.
You're influencing the face angle. So what I wanted to do is play around with here is I wanted to just kind of play around with +2 and -2 and just talk about the differences here between the two.
Yeah.
So let's grab a 10.5 stealth head.
Okay.
And we'll go +2 and -2 and we'll notice see what happens here and the difference in bull flight and numbers on TrackMan.
So, okay, perfect. So we got, just because I think that's one thing that's lost on a lot of people. Maybe not our viewers, because I know our viewers and their attention to detail sometimes is almost too good. But the attention to detail, when they notice these things, but a lot of golfers might not realize, it's not just adjusting the loft. You're also adjusting the face and the way it's set at address. And so I know that's something that's lost on some of the people I play with. It's not something that goes through your mind, but if you, for example, you have a high right miss, right? You want to correct that. The best way to do that is to, probably you think, I'm going to go upright, but then also to do that you have to increase the loft.
Right, and
So
there is an
higher.
upright setting too on the back of the hosel with TaylorMade too. So you can also put it upright as well. Just know that there's each notch essentially is a different setting that you're changing.
Yeah.
You're changing the face angle, you're changing the lie angle.
Yeah,
and
and
you're changing the loft.
if someone is curious about that, you can talk to anybody here at Second Swing and have a good idea on what the best setting might be for you with your particular driver. It seems like every driver nowadays has some type of adjustable hosel on it there. But all right, so you wanted to do. We got it. What do you got for the setting right now?
This is a 10.5 set it higher.
Okay, higher.
So there's a 10.5 degree head set at higher or +2. Knowing this is closing the face angle, so 4 degrees as well. So this is really turning this club into being a real kind of draw bias driver. So when I set this thing down, this face looks shut to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which.
And
I know you don't love
this
that.
is also the Stealth Plus as well. So it's not really so much a draw bias. You do that in the HD head in Stealth,
Right.
and it's even further to the left. But the way this club sits now, when it sits down, it sits closed.
So we've got Stealth. And you moved it up
So is it, yeah, +2.
+2. Okay.
All right, let's finish off, hit a few shots, and see what the numbers tell us.
I saw that one turn a little bit on you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it
High
started a
launch
little
and high
left.
spin on that one.
Yep.
Also, heavy left
Heavy left.
turn.
Yeah. So I'm definitely leaving distance on the table here. If we take a look at that landing angle, it's 47
47
degrees.
is steep.
Height 149 feet in the air.
Right.
Yeah.
We got a good question here on a fitting from someone. Says my swing speed is 88 miles an hour for a 7-iron. That's pretty comparable to, I guess, both of us.
Yep.
My question is, I have been fitted for everything from regular Aerotech steel fiber to extra stiff Mitsubishi Tensai. Which fitting is correct? Or incorrect, I guess, because those are different.
I'd
So,
say regular's out.
regular's probably out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming with the extra stiff Mitsubishi Tensai, I would imagine talking driver.
Okay. So drive. So you're talking about driver. Okay.
I think the speed is a 7-iron.
7-iron speed.
7-iron speed is 88 miles an hour. but I imagine maybe that
would
with irons,
equate to probably around about 105 to 110.
Yeah, for a
in
driver
drivers.
speed. Yeah.
So you're on the bubble there between stiff and extra stiff.
Yeah.
What we're seeing there.
Yeah, and then as Sean pointed out too here, he says the tempo matters a lot, which is true.
Right.
I mean, swing speed and swing tempo, big impact on the shaft you should be playing. So.
I feel like I hit that pretty well, but yeah.
Look at all that spin. So that's, what we got 3 or 4 shots in there now.
God, that's 171 feet in the air.
That's high. If you got a 285-yard par 4, you don't need to stick it on the green. Here's your club.
Right.
Yeah, that thing's launching so high. I mean, I know how high the ball should be hitting the screen for you because you've done this so much.
Yeah.
It's a lot higher than that.
Okay. So, see the numbers there? I think we're talking about 2,800 spin, 165 ball speed, 166 feet in the air in height. You could always bring up the optimizer.
Oh yeah, we'll bring up the optimizer.
See where we're at here.
So look at the dispersion though, all left, comfortably left for you.
Yep.
And then we'll bring this optimizer up here.
Ah,
So
where am I leaving stuff on the table
you're
there?
low on speed, you're high on launch, you're high on spin, you're high on height, and you have too much spin loft.
Yep.
What would be the
Less
next
loft.
step?
Less loft. Yeah. So what I'm doing here now, ideally, what I would do after seeing these numbers is change the loft. Knowing this is already set at higher, which is going to flip it to minus. But if you had a fit customer come in like this, we need less loft on the driver.
Right.
To try and maximize their carry and total distance.
Yeah.
So you're seeing here optimal carry for my swing speed there would be 299 going 322.
Yeah.
That's
And you're
kind of
losing.
what I'm usually at when I'm hitting it really, really well. with the
Instead,
testing.
you're losing 30 yards of total distance here because your loft is too high on the driver, and
Yeah.
so there's got to be a lot of golfers out there that are playing a 10.5-degree driver, right? That are swing, have enough speed to hit the ball maybe 20 or 30 yards further than they do because they have too much loft.
Right.
So this is the impact that too much loft can have. Is you could be losing. I mean, again, this is an extreme example, right, where you're very much showing 30 yards of difference here, but there's probably 10, 15, 20 yards out there that to be had if you have too much loft in your driver. Maybe you can loft it down.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Spin's too high,
Yeah.
height's too high.
Everything is,
Yeah.
except for the distance,
Right.
is too low. But
So you guys just witness me there. I just flip-flop this from higher to lower. So I just switched this around. I didn't change the head or anything like that. Still a 10.5-degree head.
so this is going to be like -2 essentially, right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, let me get this tag.
So this is the same driver head, same golf shaft. I was swinging at 113, I think, on average. So I'll try and swing about 113.
All right.
113.7.
Oh, I noticed that right away. You gain more ball speed. Launched way lower. Oh my.
All right, sign me up for that setting right there.
0 feet of curve just happened with the driver on the first swing with the setting. You don't see that very often. I don't know. It's probably a decent chance I've never hit a tee shot with 0 feet of curve in my life.
I bet you have.
I don't know. Maybe when I was little and I had 60-mile-an-hour swing speed.
Right. Yeah, so that was 113.7, so exact same as what my average was. Notice what happened to the height. It dropped significantly. We're talking 30 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's still not low enough yet
Right.
because my attack angle was so high.
For
on the
you,
driver.
especially,
Yeah.
you would go even lower than this to optimize
Right.
yourself. But also seeing that one started a little bit right of the other ones. It seemed like. I don't know, I drew back though.
There you go.
So here's a question for Brian. Can loft be too low? I like seeing those low chaser bullets. I don't care how far it goes, really. He's anticipating, or I guess going for just the low, more controllable flight. Is there a such thing as too much or too low of loft, really?
Depends on the golf course you play.
Yeah.
If you play at a golf course that's firm and fast, you can sacrifice a little bit in the height, and the ball can maybe fly a little bit lower, so it's going to chase out there. But if you play on a golf course that's fairly soft, maybe there's dew on the ground, maybe it rained overnight, that ball is not going to, you're sacrificing a lot of distance with your driver.
Right, yeah. And I think, well, especially around here, I mean, a lot of times in Minnesota, it's usually more soft, more moist in the conditions than firm. And so, there'd be losing some distance there. But I guess that's the thing, though. He said he doesn't really care how far it goes. So if that's the way he can control the ball and hit it straighter just by hitting the low bullets, then, I mean, do it. You just might be losing 20, 30 yards of rollout potentially by not maybe optimizing it and going for that higher launch.
Right, correct, yeah. So, I mean, I hit a couple more, but I mean, I think we get the point here on how the hosel adjustments can influence ball flight, but also will influence spin numbers there too. That was just a touch right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here, I'll bring up the numbers while we can here. You can see this. So there's our comparison right away. And this is just, you took a 10.5 degree head, went up 2 degrees, and then went down 2 degrees.
Yep.
And what you did is, that slightly closed the face of the +2 and slightly opened it with the -2. And you see the spin was a 500 RPM difference, 15 more yards of carry, and over 20 more yards of total distance just by making that adjustment there.
Yeah. And a 10.5 degree head is too much loft for me as it is, so it's not optimized yet. But
and we can see dispersion. Again, that's not a bunch of shots.
It's a carry distance,
rather small sample size. We just wanted to show a quick demonstration, but very clear. It showed up right away. And I know I imagine you have that all the time when you have in for a fitting. You have a player, maybe they have a lot of speed, for example, but they're playing 10.5 degree driver and they hit 150 feet in the air, and you're going, well, you can probably gain 20 yards by just playing a lower loft the driver.
Right. That's the fastest 20 yards I'll ever get someone just by changing that head. Yeah.
Well, we have probably a few minutes left here, right? So with that said, we'll take maybe we'll go up to five more questions anybody has related to fitting, related to new equipment. Otherwise, we'll be signing off here shortly. I know, say one question here from Raymond on just hitting the tee shots. How much ball speed would you gain adding a little weight to the head? Or would you gain speed?
So when you think about a driver that has the weight forward versus the weight back. So when you switch the weights around, having more weight forward, you're going to gain ball speed. If you have more weight back, you're going to lose a little bit, but you gain stability. So there's pros and cons against each other. It's going to be player dependent, but if a club is a little heavier, you can pick up a little bit of speed. Yeah.
Dave says, I bet second swing has great condition. Use clubs since you only have 3 months of playing for the year. Yeah, it's about true. 3 good months, I would say. And then weather can get iffy, in the spring and the fall. But that's certainly one of the advantages here at second swing is our use selection, 100%.
Yeah, it's and we have, we're not just in Minnesota. We have other stores and other locations there too, and we take trades from all over the country as well. So it's not just golf clubs that you get from Minnesota, but yeah, the golf season's a little short. I'm not gonna lie. I wish we could create content all year round outside. I think that would be, in an ideal situation, would be in a warm climate. But it's fun being in the fitting bay too because it's in a very controlled environment.
We got a couple here. How about this one from Michael? How does shaft droop affect face angle?
Yeah, so once again, it's going to be kind of player dependent. If that shaft is kind of doing this a little bit, there's a chance that the head can twist. So it's going to depend on the way that delivers transition or tempo is like. If they get really, really quick from the top, there's a chance if that shaft's drooping, that face might stay a little open. You might miss it to the right. If you got a very, very smooth transition, it might give you a little more time to get going that way. But
so that's why we always emphasize it's not just about your swing speed, but it's also about your swing tempo when maybe you're thinking about what shaft to get. So
Yeah. I mean, we don't go too in depth with regards to shaft droop. You know what's going to happen. You know, there's going to be changes there in shaft droop because, especially a golf shaft that's lighter versus steel golf shaft. So that's why it's important. You got to pay attention to your hit location and also your face control.
And one, I do want to remind people too, as we're closing and wrapping up here. Again, if you have questions, submit them now, the next couple of minutes. But also if you're in the Scottsdale area, or maybe you're going down for the Waste Management Phoenix Open, you can stop by our Scottsdale North location where we are giving away free merch, free Phoenix Open merch. And all you have to do is go to the store and then like and share our Facebook page for the new store at Scottsdale South, and you will receive a t-shirt for the Waste Management Phoenix Open.
Good question here. So golf shaft can affect strike points, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
the golf shaft is what helps you. It's your only piece to where your hands and the club. It connects your body to the club. So, yeah, it essentially is going to influence the way that you deliver the club. Yeah.
So here's one from Wesley that's interesting. When loft is changed on a driver, should the driver be grounded or hovered and pointed at the target for the loft to take effect? So I think it's a common thing for players where they don't maybe put the driver on the ground, they instead hover it. Does that impact things at all, really? I mean, I guess you could be manipulating the face angle at impact, or at address, excuse me, but.
I would sit it on the ground. I would sit it on the ground as square as you can, because if you're hovering, there's a chance you might hover it with the face a little closed or face a little open. We know when a face is closed, it's going to influence the loft on the club, or if the face is open, it's going to also influence the loft on the club too. It's going to influence the dynamic loft, not the static loft on the golf club.
Dave says, how about some free merch for watching for the full hour and a half? Well, I will say, as we get near our 50,000 subscriber mark, we'll be putting together a giveaway. So tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your children, tell everybody to subscribe to the channel. And the sooner we get there, the sooner we'll be able to launch a giveaway, maybe get you some free clubs or maybe a fitting, whatever that might be. So.
Right, so if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you are, because our goal is to build our subscription numbers here.
All right, with that said, I think that's about where we're gonna wrap up for today. So golfers, unfortunately, remind you one more time, lives on Thursdays are postponed for the next couple of months due to high fitting demands here in the tour van fitting bays here at our store. But however, we'll be back as soon as we can. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We will have videos going up every Thursday. That won't change. We'll have video content for you, just might not be live. So thank you for joining. Thank you for all your support for the channel, and we'll see you as soon as we can on live. But in the meantime, make sure you check out our daily videos on the channel.